Last episode, I said the boring work taught by accident, and that the mechanisms had names. This is the last episode about the past, and it asks the question that follows. What happens to a profession when the accidental path stops working? 3 of them have been through it. Medicine, aviation, and the building trades all lost their informal way of making the next generation, and all 3 built a formal one instead. I read the founding documents rather than the stories, and the stories are wrong in places. Nobody built anything until the failure produced a body count or a scandal. Start with medicine, and with a sentence written in 1910. Abraham Flexner surveyed every medical school in the United States and Canada for the Carnegie Foundation, 155 of them, and his report describes what this series keeps describing. The preceptorial system, he writes, soon moribund, had become nominal. The student registered in the office of a physician whom he never saw again. He no longer read his master's books, submitted to his quizzing, or rode with him the countryside. The schools had not noticed at all when the vital features of the apprentice system dropped out. Nobody was watching, because watching was nobody's job. That report gets credited with things it did not do. Chapter 9 is arithmetic. Flexner works out how many doctors the country needs, settles on about 2,000 graduates a year, and concludes that 155 medical schools should become 31. He gives the principles too. A medical school is properly a university department in a city with enough patients, 1 school to a town. And the entrance bar he takes as normal is 2 years of college, largely science, when only 16 schools on the continent asked for it. He did not say raise standards. He said which schools, how many, and what they must be attached to. Now the part that does not get quoted. Chapter 14 is about the medical education of Black Americans, and Flexner counts 7 schools serving them. He recommends keeping 2, Howard and Mary, and calls the other 5 ineffectual. He also writes that the black doctor's practice will be limited to his own race, and argues it partly on the grounds that disease spreads to white neighbors. All 5 of the schools he wrote off closed within 13 years. The instrument that raised the floor under American medicine pulled the ladder up behind a whole population. An institution is not automatically an improvement. It is a set of choices about who gets in, and those choices outlive everybody who made them. Medicine's other answer was already running. William Halsted is usually credited with inventing the residency, so I read the address where he describes it, given at Yale in 1904. It was our intention originally, he writes, to adopt as closely as feasible the German plan. He calls the arrangement at his own hospital something that evolved in a natural way. 6 years as an assistant before you could hold the post, 8 in all counting the 2 years in it, for permanent men on the staff, a vacancy once in 2 or 3 years, advancement not guaranteed, and every assistant below the house surgeon unpaid. Graduated responsibility, read closely, is a pyramid. What medicine did next is the part our field has no version of. Halsted's system knew when somebody was ready because one man watched them for 8 years, and that does not scale, so the profession wrote it down. The instrument now is the Intrustable Professional Activity, proposed in 2005 by all 10 Kate. It breaks the job into units of practice, each with a beginning and an end, and certifies a trainee for each unit as soon as they are ready, rather than all at once at the end. What is this person allowed to do with nobody checking it afterwards? Medicine keeps that list in writing. Your team keeps it in somebody's head. Aviation's apprenticeship was not informal so much as lethal, so its answer was to manufacture the practice. Edwin Link filed his first patent application in 1929, from his father's organ factory, and the patent that granted is worth reading for its title alone. Combination training device for student aviators and entertainment apparatus. One stated object is a device for recording the number of errors which the student makes. That is designed feedback, written into a patent application in 1930. Another is a coin-actuated means, so it could be operated as an entertainment apparatus for profit. He built the feedback loop and the fairground ride into one machine, because he had to. He had to because nobody in aviation would buy it. The engineering society that made it a landmark says it was successful only as a coin-operated carnival ride. Then in 1934 the Army Air Corps was ordered to fly the Mail. Its pilots could not fly on instruments in bad weather, and a run of crashes killed people and made the newspapers. That year the Army bought 6 Link trainers. 6. Within a decade, the same device had been built 10,000 times and had trained 500,000 pilots. The willingness to pay for it changed, and what changed it was funerals. The trades took the third road, which is statute. Guilds had run apprenticeship in Europe for centuries and were long gone, and America had no national standard for what an apprenticeship was. So I pulled the National Apprenticeship Act, the Fitzgerald Act, and the first thing to report is that it is 1937, not 1938, the date I had written down. The second is how small it is. The operative sentence directs the Secretary of Labor to formulate and promote labor standards to safeguard the welfare of apprentices, to bring together employers and labor, and to cooperate with the states. That is the whole of it. No schools, no funding, nobody compelled. And yet the thing it does do turns out to be most of the game. It puts one public authority in charge of the standard, which is the move Germany made and kept making. The dual system trains people in a company and a vocational school at once, in occupations defined nationally. The Federal Institute's own figures are worth hearing. 327 recognized occupations. About 1.2 million people in training. That is the standing proof that formal apprenticeship works at scale, and I owe you the other half. It was 1.5 million in 2010. And fewer than one German company in 5 trains anybody at all. So the team read all this, and the new hires manager asked the obvious question. What is our residency? I am not going to answer that, and I want to be straight about why. It is the right question and it is early. Medicine's report landed in 1910 and schools were still closing in the 20s. Aviation's answer sold to fairgrounds for 5 years, and to the profession only after people died. The trades needed an act of Congress. Everyone was a rupture first and an institution second, built by people who could already see what had broken. This series has not finished measuring what has broken here. So, the self-check, and it is still a watch this. Work out which of the 3 your organization is capable of. The teaching hospital, where senior time is booked as production rather than overhead. The simulator, where you manufacture the practice real work no longer hands you. Or the statute, where somebody outside your company sets the standard and holds the register. Write one sentence on which you could fund inside a quarter. The artifact is the rupture to institution table, linked below. You will know it worked when the argument on your team stops being whether to do anything and becomes which one. That is how seniors were made, why it worked, and what others built when it broke. Next episode, the present tense, measured.